For the last 10 years, I've been teaching students and young professionals on campus. I'm completely secular, very little connection to their Judaism, and I've been introducing them to the absolutely mind-blowing ideas that we have in our Torah. And I would say that by far, the most requested subject that I'm asked to talk about is love, dating, and marriage. I know that if I run Love, Dating, and Marriage 101, I'm going to have a full room. That is it. So, on one hand, you can kind of ask yourself, well, why is that? Why is there like such a desperation to know about this? I mean, it's all over the secular world. It's all over the world. It's very prevalent. Like, why are you coming to the rabbi's wife to like work these things out, you know? So I kind of figured it into about 3 different areas. Why is it in such demand? So the first one is that the ability to achieve, so that would be the dating, achieve a loving, monogamous, committed relationship holds an incredible amount of power in this world. It's almost like it's hardwired into the world in which we live. Monogamy is like finding the one, right? That's how the girls put it. I'm just finding the one. I'm just looking for the one, right? And if you take a look at any romantic comedy, television series, any of these things, it's either the A plot or the B plot of any TV show, movie. There's always this, and then she found the one, right? Even now in action movies, like, he always finds the one. Superman finds the one. Iron Man finds the one. It's unbelievable. The power of finding the one and being with them and living this happily ever after. It's hardwired into our world. We have, interestingly enough, we've done away with so many institutions. We've done away with the royal family. I know we still have the Queen here in Canada, but really, I mean, it's not like she can turn around and go, off with your head, it's over for you. You know, like, she can't do that. She can come and she can go, oh, hello, very nice to meet you. And then you say, okay, your job is to say, ma'am, right? Not, you would have thought it was mom. When you greet the Queen, everyone thinks that you say, oh, mom, Your Royal Highness, mom, right? No, it's ma'am like jam. Okay, very important to remember just in case you ever meet the Queen. But we've kind of done away with these institutions. We've done away with things like job for life, right? But we've kept partner for life. We've kept monogamy for life. And we've kept this absolutely insatiable desire to get that. And it's built into the world, hardwired into the world. It is worth spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on. The amount of money which people now spend finding the one and then marrying the one. Like, what's the most you've ever seen spent on a wedding? Like $200,000, $300,000. Like, the sky is the limit now. For me, I look at it and I'm like, it must be about something more than the tax breaks, right? Like, you get a lot of nice little tax breaks when you're married. Maybe it's like convenient to like take 2 people and put them under the same roof. There must be something more than that. It's got to be something more going on. So that's the first one, that it has this incredible value. It's hardwired into our world. Because of this, people understand and people do see that relationships are hard. It's not easy. It's not a simple thing to get it right. It's not a simple thing to find the guy, and it's not a simple thing to get that relationship right going forward. So in the modern world also, I think that it has become even harder. And I think that's for 2 reasons. The first is that there are now some unbelievably unrealistic expectations from all quarters, right? And I don't think it matters whether you generally associate in the frum world or you generally associate in like the general, more secular world. There are some unbelievable misconceptions and unrealistic expectations of what your husband is going to be for you and what you're going to be for him, that managing that and trying to achieve this fairy tale relationship is not always so easy. Not only that, we have more distractions in this world than ever before. Like, it's unbelievable. I just came back. I spoke in Minnesota for a very good friend of mine, Gitty Fredman, and I asked the women in the room to think of one distraction that they could cut out in their home, so that they were able to focus on their family. And I asked them to write it down on a little card and just leave it on their places. It was just like market research. Number one answer, what do you think? Number one most distracting thing in their home?
The phone.
The phone, right? Number one was my iPhone. My iPhone was listed as the one thing which I should put away when my kids get home, put away when I am having a conversation with my husband. Number two was the laptop. Because it's amazing, I have this picture that I found on the internet of a husband and a wife hanging out together, right? He's sitting on one side of the sofa and his laptop is open. She's sitting on the other side of the sofa and her laptop is open, right? And this is hanging out together, right? It's not hanging out together. In educational philosophy, it's what 3-year-olds do. It's called parallel play, right? It looks like they're playing together because they're playing with the same thing, but they're really not playing together, right? They might both be playing with their laptops, but they're really not playing together. So there is an unbelievable amount of distractions that we face now and unrealistic expectations. So on one hand, we're pushing for even better relationships, and on the other hand, we're putting almost even less effort into it. And we're walking through this world looking for solutions to that. So it's hardwired, we're looking for solutions. And the last thing is that I think that one thing that AISH maybe has done really well, but also other outreach organizations, we've kind of put it out there that we might have some solutions to this. So when people meet me and they're like, I'm the rabbi's wife, right? And especially because like I come across as very cool. They're like, do you have answers? Do you really have some answers? Some solutions? Right? And I'm like, wow, I mean, they work for me. Like, work for me and work for all of my friends. And also, I remember looking at some of the answers which we're going to talk about tonight, saying to myself, these are fascinating. They are counterintuitive, and I coined this phrase, right? The first time I learned about one of these, I was like, that's epic. It's epic. It's so beyond what I was thinking, so much larger than what I was thinking it was. It became in my world like, Jewish marriage is just epic. So that's why I think it's so popular. In the last 2 months ago, I had 4 engagements in 1 month. 4 of my students got engaged in 1 month, which was like very exciting to me. It was super cool. And because of that, I've now done 2 weddings. We've got another 2 to come in the summer. And every time I go to a wedding, I take a picture of myself with a color, and I post it on social media, because we have to be into Facebook, us Kara Robertson. And it's always, when you post something now, you want to put like a little tag by it, right? So I always put like a little tag on it. So you put like this hashtag, and then you write like a cute little phrase. So I always put hashtag best part of the job. Right? That for me, getting my students to their chuppah, regardless of what else they're doing in terms of their Judaism. If they are coming to a chuppah and they are getting married and they're marrying a great guy, I'm like, best part of the job. We just married off this amazing girl called Heather. She married a guy called David. She was walking up the aisle, and this guy was standing there, and he was bawling. Like, he was crying. He wasn't even wiping away his tears. It was so beautiful, right? He was so in love with her. And at that point, you think to yourself, Rabbi's wife score! Yes! You know, especially when she comes to you afterwards while you're dancing with her, and she goes, I wouldn't be here because of you. And you're like, you know, let's just record that on my phone and just play it back every single time I'm having a bad day, right? But I realize it's the best part of the job, and I think that this is for 2 reasons for me. The first is that historically, the first time I saw an Orthodox Jewish wedding was epic. It was epic. It wasn't a particularly epic wedding, but like the experience was epic. I was on a Jerusalem fellowship trip. I was not from. Underline that. Not from in any way whatsoever. Okay, it was a first stage Kiev trip. I had absolutely no idea what was flying. They wanted to introduce us to a bride who was getting married, and then the bride had invited us to her wedding, which was extremely exciting. So the bride comes in and we're grilling her. Poor girl, right? You can imagine, okay? She's like 21, you know, she's just a stoner, she's a firm girl, and she's being grilled by like 20 19-year-old secular college girls, right? What is going on? You know, we had some tough questions for her. And then she told us about this little thing called shamanagia, right? The fact that she doesn't touch guys. And I remember looking at her, sticking up my hand, she goes, uh-huh, and I just looked at her and went, you're crazy. You are certifiably crazy. What do you mean you haven't touched it? What do you mean? Are you crazy? You are actually going to marry someone you've never touched, right? She's like, yeah, of course, big deal, you know? I'm like, this is a big deal, right? This is a big deal. So we get to her wedding, and I'm watching her walk up the aisle, and in the back of my head I'm going, this woman is crazy, she's totally mad, she's absolutely crazy, that's it, I can't handle this, right? They go through the whole khutbah, I have absolutely no idea what's going on, no idea whatsoever, because I don't speak Hebrew, I have no idea. They're speaking so fast, I have no idea what's going on, never been to an Orthodox Jewish wedding. He stamps on the glass, they say Mazel Tov, I'm like, oh, I know that word, right? And then he takes her hand. And I was watching for it. And I was just like, I want that. Like, making just that touch just so significant was like, whoa, she's crazy. She's crazy, right? But kind of, that is pretty cool, right? That is pretty cool. It's funny because I actually met my husband on that trip. We were like secular dating on the trip. It was like a holiday romance. And then he stayed in London Yeshiva. I went back, I finished my law degree, and then I went out and married him like 5 years later. And I remember walking up the aisle at my wedding as a frum girl going, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy, right? You're crazy, but you're gonna get the moment, you're gonna get it, right? So it was epic to just see it. It was epic to see someone who had so absolutely and utterly maximized that power of touch, right? The second thing is an idea from Rabbi Kellerman, who's an amazing rabbi who teaches in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem. So he discusses the whole idea of holiness, and he says, when the Jewish people were given the Torah, Moses is told, go tell it to Beis Yaakov, which is seen as go tell it to the women, and go tell it to the men. Tell them that they are a kingdom of priests, they're a holy nation. Go tell this to Bnei Israel. Great. That's kind of cool. Go tell it to all of them. You're a holy nation. Go tell it to all of them. Rashi goes, hang on a minute. I love Rashi, right? Rashi, one of these major Jewish commentators, he likes to pick apart the Torah. He likes to take it on its face value and say, something's not working here. There's a principle in Torah that Torah doesn't repeat itself. If it does, it's because it's coming to tell you something different. So he says, why say it twice? He says, go tell the Jewish people that they are a kingdom of priests. Go tell the Jewish people. So Rashi comments, he says, tell them this and nothing else. Don't tell them more and don't tell them less. This is all they need to know, says Rashi, that they are holy, that they are kadosh. That's all they need to know. So Rabbi Kellerman says, it's because really in Judaism, that's what you need to know. When you walk through this world, if you can walk through this world with a feeling of, I'm kadosh, and holy is a horrible translation of it, right? Holy to me is like, I am holy, I can do no wrong, right? Holy is a horrible translation, but I guess it'll have to work for the moment, right? If you can walk through the world with a feeling of, I'm kadosh, that's a little bit of self-esteem that I really feel like we're missing nowadays. 21st century girls are really struggling in this area, right? It's self-esteem. Can you imagine a girl being able to walk through this world saying, I'm a kadosh. Like, I'm a kadosh. I'm holy. So before my wedding, I studied two things. Not only did I do like regular color classes, which teach you all about the laws of being married under Judaism, I also sat down and I studied with my Rebbetzin the Jewish marriage ceremony, because I'm not about to do anything that I don't understand. Like, I might be very religious by now, but like still, I walk through life with my eyes wide open, right? There is no putting the wool over my eyes. If you want me to do something, you are going to have to explain why. You would have to show me at least 2 sources, right? We are going to have an argument. I'm going to have to ask you many questions in an extremely chutzpahdik way, and only when I feel totally convinced might I start thinking about doing it, right? You can imagine my poor seminary rabbis. Like, when they first met my husband, they were like, oh, one of the rabbis commented to my husband on his way to the chuppah, yeah, you've got a live one there. And I was like, great, thank you for saying that to my husband, or my almost husband, just on the way to the chuppah. But I'm studying all of these things which happen under the chuppah, and so Rebbetzin Nagumsky, who was teaching me, she said, and then he says to you this one phrase, okay, he says, Hare at mikudeshet li. Behold, you are holy to me. Kudeshes, you are holy to me. Hare at mikudeshet li. That's what he says to her under the chuppah. Then he puts the ring on your finger, and then you're married. I'm like, well, what about the rest of it? She goes, yeah, there's the rest of it, but really, that is the point. He says that to you, puts the ring on your finger, which is your acceptance of that statement, and Bob's your uncle, you're done, right? So I was thinking about this idea, Hare al mikudeshet li, behold, you are kadosh to me. You are holy to me. And Rebbetzin Nagumsky looked at me and she said, it's like you're a different species. It's like you're a different species to him. And I suddenly realized what had happened under that first chuppah that I'd seen. Something had shifted, not just in physicality, and not just in name either. We used to be Miss So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so, and now we're Mr. and Mrs. Goldstein, right? No, something had shifted on a much deeper level and was about to shift for me under my chuppah on a much deeper level. That is this whole idea of I become kadosh to him and he becomes kadosh to me, right? It's like he's a different species. So when someone ends up saying, Hare al mikudeshet li, right? Behold, you are holy to me. When you are living your life on the basis of like a Jewish philosophical approach to your marriage of my husband is holy to me, my wife is holy to me, it's like saying, basically, you are a different species of person. You're a different species. You're no longer woman, you are wife. It's very different. And the word that he uses is kadosh under the chuppah, holy. And that's the word that we just said was Judaism's definition of our relationship with God. So, oh, this is cute. Okay. My son Moshe, right? Moshe, he's a very, very smart boy, but he hates to write. He's a lefty, and he hates to write. It just makes him miserable, like unbelievably miserable. And getting him to write is the biggest struggle. So what we realized was if he's writing in context about something that he cares about, he can write an entire page. But if you ask him to write a line of N's or a line of E's, it's like he can do 3. And he's like, I'm tired. I can't do this. And the first E is a really nice E, and the second E is more of a squiggle, and the third E is like, there, I don't care anymore, right? You take Moshe, you put anything into context for him and he can do it. Out of context, spelling test, forget it. Same words when he's describing a dinosaur that he's really interested in, no problems. Absolutely no problems. It's like night and day for him. We see this also in so many other ways in terms of learning. We have this idea of experiential learning, which is when I experientially learn, it's a whole different way of approaching learning about a topic. I'm not listening to you, I'm actually feeling it and experiencing it for myself. So especially for someone who doesn't grow up having any kind of like relationship with God, which was like I was. I grew up with thinking that God was a little man sitting on a cloud, right? And I thought that that was stupid. I was like, that is the most ridiculously stupid idea ever. How can God be a little man sitting on a cloud? Because there's something called gravity, right? Gravity, little men fall through clouds. So as soon as I realized that there was gravity and the little men couldn't sit through clouds, what do you think I did with my whole God concept? Whatever. Those Jews are crazy. I ditched out of Judaism for obvious reasons, because it was just ridiculous. So when I'm working with someone who has absolutely zero God concept, and I'm trying to explain to them their relationship with God, suddenly you put them under the chuppah, standing next to the guy that they want to spend the rest of their life with, or in a marriage which they're really working hard on, and you say, listen, on your best day, when you look at your husband, you just say, oh, I love him. That is what Judaism's all about. That's the ball game. That is the ball game, right? We have all of these rules. My husband always says this. He says, imagine that I put you on a random pitch with random markings, and I told you you can only run from here to here, and you can only run from here to here. You can only pick up the ball then. You can only kick the ball then, and like, don't you dare do this, and don't you dare do that. If you punch the other side, you are out, man. Big deal, right? Like, you'd be like, okay, whatever. Only when someone sees it in the context of a game, and then there's a ball, and there's an aim to it, it's like, now I get it. Oh, this is the ball game. Kedusha is Judaism's ball game. So suddenly, when I give someone an experience, or we have an experience of a marriage that is based on these amazing Jewish philosophical principles, suddenly we're saying, welcome to the ball game. This is what it's about. These are why we have all of these rules. This is why we have all of this philosophy. This is why we have this long Torah. And when I first realized that it was like the 5 books of Moses plus everything else, right? When they first showed me a Tanakh, I was like, that is a big, big book. Never knew that the rest of that stuff happened. Like, I was like good on the 5 books of Moses. And then when they rocked out with this Gemara, which feels like a wall in my house now, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of Torah. There is a lot of Torah out there. But if you just study it outside of this context, it becomes this like intellectual thing, and it's dry. It's dry, and it's not passionate, and it's not interesting, and it's not relevant. But as soon as I take it and I say, Kedusha's the ball game, what you have with your husband, or what you're trying to have with your husband, what you're building towards, what the world is obsessed with, what's hardwired into the world, that's the ball game. Oh, now I can really understand that. Now I get that. So when I have a student who I can demonstrate that to, oh, it's beautiful. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. And when we have a marriage that we're demonstrating that to our children, we're role modeling that to our children, that is one of the most powerful lessons that they can learn. The divorce rate right now is pretty high, and going higher. Someone sent me an article recently saying, good news, divorce rate has stabilized, right? It was only because if you read like 4 paragraphs down that you realize the divorce rate has not stabilized. There are just less people getting married. There's just less girls who are finding the one and managed to convince the one to put a ring on it. Like, there's just less. There's less of that happening. So therefore, if you have less marriages, you have less divorces, right? If we can model these powerful relationships to our kids, and to the world around us, it's unbelievably inspiring to them. It's unbelievably inspiring to see a great marriage, a phenomenally awesome marriage, because it is someone who stands there who, just like me, looks at that and says, I want that. I want that. And whether it is someone who is holding in every area of Judaism, who is sitting there at their Friday night table with their 14 children and their, or someone who models that just on a daily basis when they're picking their kid up from soccer and things like, it doesn't really matter. But modeling that principle of Kedusha, that's the ball game, is very powerful. So I want to talk about 2 areas that this really applies. and is extremely practical, especially in 21st century living, especially where we're holding right now. So the first, I want to go back to this, I mentioned it a minute ago, this idea of you being a different species. Right? This is what my rebbetzin said to me. She said, Chana, when he says that to you, you go from woman to wife. So this was kind of like a mind shift for me, because what I thought I was doing was, I thought I was the girl who wanted to be able to say, I have the best husband ever. My husband is the best husband. That is what I wanted to be, the girl. And I wanted to be able to say of myself, I'm the best wife ever. I was like, my rebbetzin in my school, she rebbetzin Weinberg, she makes you write out what's called good wife books, right? Now, I'm a serious feminist, right? So like the whole idea of a good wife book was like, okay, just breathe, right? Just breathe, it's fine. So we had like these good wife books, right? I was like striving to be an excellent wife, which didn't mean I was striving to be a girl who would cook and clean and do everything like that. I was striving to be my husband's ultimate partner. And where's my husband right now? He's looking after the kids. And where was he this morning when I was teaching this class? He was looking after the kids, right? It's not a question of what your marriage looks like, but how your marriage is and why you're doing it. That was what I was going for. So I thought it was all about me being the best wife ever. I have the best husband ever. It's not about that at all. I do not have the best husband in the world. I don't have the best husband in the world. Neither do you. I know. Are you married? No? Are you married? No? Okay. Just us two? Right? We do not have the best husbands in the world. And please God, when you're married, you also will not have the best husband in the world. You will have the only husband in the world. Because there's you. Hi, darling.
I wish you set it all up so fast.
She's awesome, no?
Well, oh, no, she's Wonder Woman. We go back to, oh, you look so beautiful.
Thank you.
I hope you had a lot of people say, hi, guys.
Go, sit, come. So, it's not a question of, I have the best husband in the world. It's a question of, I have the only husband in the world. Because I am the only person who is his only wife. I am his only wife and he is my only husband. When you say, I have the best husband in the world, like, what are you judging it on? I have the husband who will do the washing up, even if I don't ask, right? He walks into the kitchen. Okay, this never happened, just so you should know, right? He walks into the kitchen, he looks in the sink, he sees the kids' dirty stuff from breakfast. He sees you trying to get out of the door desperately. He just looks at the dirty stuff, and somewhere in the back of his head, he thinks to himself, do you know what? Before being asked, I will wash up. Yes, I will do that. And then he washes up, right? And not only does he wash up, right? He puts it to drain the right way up, right? So that you don't come back to like poles that are just like kind of that like icky water in it that you like have to rewash, right? And then, imagine this, and then 10 minutes after washing up, it's drained, it's dry, he thinks to himself, you know what? I'll put it away. No. Stuff that has never happened ever. I mean, maybe there are some husbands who do that. I haven't met them yet, right? It's the husband, it's the best husband in the world, the one who takes off his socks and puts them in the dirty laundry. Is that the best husband in the world? Right? Well, what are you measuring it against? Who is the best husband in the world? We have had, that's okay, we have ended up with a situation where when we play the game of comparisons with our relationships, and this could be a comparison in relationships with friends, it could be in a comparison in relationship with siblings, it could be a comparison in relationship with jobs, with grades, any of these things, it is the fastest route to unhappiness. And our society, and even though the world is hardwired for relationships, our society has sussed this out so well. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how well they've sussed out this idea. I just want to take this, I want to make you feel like you are not good enough, because if I can make you feel like you are not good enough, then I can sell you something to make you feel good enough, right? I'm looking for you to compare yourself to the picture of the girl in the magazine. I'm looking for you to compare yourself with your neighbor. I'm looking for you to compare yourself with whatever someone put on Facebook. I'm looking for you to compare yourself with your friends and say, well, I don't have that. Well, I should have the latest this or the latest that. Or well, I'm looking next door at my friend's husband, and I'm saying of my friend's husband, well, he's such a nice guy. Why are you not more like Mr. X? Why, Mr. Goldstein, are you not more like Mr. Stein? Mr. Stein takes the garbage out on time. Mr. Stein never forgets to take his dry cleaning and then asks me to deal with it on Friday. Mr. Stein, right? In Judaism, we do not have that concept. There is no comparison games. There is no, he is the best husband in the world. He is a better husband in the world. He is, I don't know many women who say, thankfully, we have the worst husband, but I think there are a lot of women who say of themselves, oh, I'm the worst wife ever. You know, when you've had one of those days, right? I'm sure you've had it with like your friends, for example. Oh, I'm just the worst friend ever. You've screwed up, right? When you deal with your husband, oh, I'm just the worst wife ever. You're not. According to Jewish philosophy, you're not the worst wife ever. You're the only wife. There isn't anyone. Who are you comparing yourself to? You think that your neighbor yelled louder? I don't know, you know. If your neighbor had a bigger hissy fit than you did, I don't know. Right? There's none of this. You are the only. It comes from an absolutely stunning idea, which you might have heard before. When Yaakov and Esau meet up again, Jacob, sent Esau, his brother, gifts. They didn't have the best brotherly relationship, let's put it like that, understatement. And in order to try and get back into Esau's in order to try and rebuild the relationship, Yaakov sends these gifts. When they finally meet up, Esau says to Yaakov, dude, I have a lot of stuff, right? Why are you sending me all of these gifts? I live a pretty sweet life, I do. You know, have you not seen my house? My many cars, camels, have you not seen what I drive around in? And have you not seen I have the latest gadgets? And, he says, Yeshli. Do you know what he says? What does Esau say to Yaakov? Yeshli harba. He says, Yeshli harba. I have a lot. I have a lot, right? Yaakov responds in the most powerful way, and it completely demonstrates this idea of comparisons. Yaakov responds, Yeshli kol. I have everything. Kol is a completely different idea to Yeshli harba. Kol and harba, you can't measure the two, right? Harba, I have lots. I have more than you. You may even have more. I have lots. You may even have more than me. More than lots, right? That's on the quantitative scale. I have everything is off the scale. It's off the scale. It's like Hashem. You can't weigh Hashem. Hashem is the heaviest thing in the world. Hashem is the biggest thing in the world. No. He's off the scale. That Kedusha, holiness, is off the scale. You will be, or you are your husband's only wife. You will never be.
Men never go to the sheriff. We know that, okay?
But your husband, you are your husband's only wife, and he is your only husband. He is your only husband. There are no comparison games here. As soon as you start comparing yourself with the person next door, Rabbi Tatz has a beautiful marriage share that me and my husband listened to obsessively in the first year of marriage. He was one of my rabbis back in England, and I can by no way do this justice, but he says, we're spending all of this time, he has a South African accent. This is the most important thing. If you only take this away from the class, you always build it up. If you only take this away from the class, this is the only thing you have to take away from the class. You have to understand, you compare yourself to the people next door, they have way bigger problems than you, says Rabbi Tatz. You never know what's going on next door. You never have any idea. There is no comparison between you and your relationship. And for someone like me who was coming from the secular world, where my entire life was a competition. It was a competition for grades to get into law school. It was a competition to get the best job. It was a constant comparison with the way that my friends looked, with what dress size we were, how much, especially in my school, I went to a very, very posh private all-girls school, right? How much our daddies earned, right? It was like this constant competition. Suddenly when someone said to me, you're kadosh, right? And this applies whether you're married or not, you're kadosh. There is no comparison to you. You can't play the comparison games with a human being and say, better, worse. You're kadosh. You are the only you that exists. And when, please God, you get married, if you're already married, you are the only one that exists. There is no playing this game. It's incredibly empowering to realize that. Because suddenly you have something real to work with. There's something which is actually there. Something changed. Something changed. So that's the first idea, which is just amazingly powerful for our world, and especially our 21st century world. The second idea is a very misunderstood idea that's out there. I was teaching a group of high school kids, secular high school kids, in a program called Torah High, and the topic was life cycle events. So it happened to be my favorite class, Love, Dating and Marriage, right? So I walked in there and we were talking today about the definition of love. So I said to the class, love is cool, no? These are like secular high school kids, they all have boyfriends. Love is cool, right? Everyone likes a bit of love, right? You know? And one girl, she looked me dead in the face and I asked her for permission for her name to tell the story in her name because this girl is beautiful. This girl she's a real personality. She's a real personality. Her name is Lexi. Lexi looks at me dead in the face and she goes, I don't like love. I don't like it. It's scary. And I was like, it's scary? I'm thinking to myself, okay, I really hope that she's not just about to tell me a really horrific story, you know? But I was thinking to myself, this is like a good, nice girl, you know, she's secular, she has boyfriends, like, she's very straight out normal, right? Love is scary, Lexi? She goes, yeah, love is scary. Because I'm not in control. I'm not in control of it. Like, it's this whole emotion, and it either makes me so happy, or it makes me so sad, and I'm just not in control. It's like the roller coaster that I didn't even choose to get on. Right? It's the roller coaster I didn't choose to get on. And I was sitting down thinking about it, and I realized that Lexi's definition of love is very interesting. On one hand, we'll say, oh, I love him. Right? I love him. That boy, I love him. My husband, I love him. There's another phrase which a lot of people use, which is, oh, I love the way he makes me feel. I really love the way. Yeah. I love the way he makes me feel. I love the way he makes me feel. So let's just break down these two ideas for one moment, okay? I love him versus I love the way he makes me feel. This will take you back to like English grammar, okay? I love him, which is the verb. Love. Love is the verb, right? I love the way he makes me feel. What's the verb in that? Make. What's the doing word? Makes. Right? That's the doing word in this thing. He is making something. He is doing something to make me feel a certain way. So therefore, I love him, right? Who's the subject? Who's doing the work in? Hi. Who's doing the work in I love him? I am, right? That means who's in control of the relationship when I love him? I am, right? That's incredibly empowering. That's a beautiful, empowering idea of looking at your relationship. I'm in control of my relationship. I'm the boss here. I'm the boss here. I have total control over whether this fails or whether this succeeds in a spectacular way because I love him. I love the way he makes me feel. Who's in control? He is. Right? Now I said I'm a massive feminist. Huge feminist. Right? Jewish feminist. Huge feminist. The concept that someone else is in control, I side with Lexi. That is scary. To live your life with the idea that love is something that someone makes you feel If love is a feeling, I don't know, now I've lost control, and now I'm being disempowered, and now I don't have any ability to make choices in my relationship, because it's all about the choices that he's making. It's all about the choices that he's making. And also, I become the neurotic girl, because now I'm in charge of him, of making him feel a certain way about me. On one hand, I have no power I love the way he makes me feel, but on the other hand, what are women walking around doing now? We're saying to ourselves, okay, so my job is to make him feel really good about himself. That is what I want to, how am I going, you know? Oh my goodness, it becomes a little bit obsessive, because it's like, okay, oh my goodness, you know, I'm like trying to mind read my husband. What does he want now? What shall I give him for dinner, right? I love the way he makes me feel is a very, very scary place to be in terms of a relationship. Judaism does not hold by I love the way he makes me feel. That for us is not real. That is the romantic comedy, very, very cute, very, very fluffy, it's very sweet, it's very romantic, it sounds like the happily ever after, but it's really not. Judaism runs on the sentence, I love him. I love him. I love him. And love is a verb. Love is not a feeling, love is a verb. So, what is this love? How do you love? So this is a very classic Aish Torah idea. It's a very classic Jewish idea. Love, ahava. The Hebrew word for love is ahava. If you break that down, the root of that is the word hav. One of the ways of translating that, to give. To give. We see this through the idea of, you know, when we have children, all we do is we give to them. We give us to them, and we love them. Even though that little baby, I have a little baby, he's 4 months old, the most he gives me is smiles and occasionally really stinky diapers, right? Love is giving, and the more I give, the more I love. That is the equation in Judaism. The more I give, the more I love. The more powerful the relationship becomes. Because of this, it gives me such amazing control in my situation. So I wanna take you to a hypothetical, okay? A hypothetical. Let's make it a Friday afternoon. An early Shabbos Friday afternoon, okay? An early Shabbos, a time when Shabbat comes in, and let's say 4:30, right? What are we doing this week? Yeah, this Shabbos, right? What is it this week? This week,
4:25.
Shabbat is coming in at 4:25, okay? This whole idea, by the way, of Shabbat coming in at a certain time was like a whole revolution. I was like, what do you mean Shabbat comes in at a certain time? When I was 17 and I first learned that, I was like, I'm sorry. There's a time, right? There's a time. Shabbat comes in at a certain time. So you can imagine, in an Orthodox family, what that last hour before Shabbos looks like, right? I don't know. Maybe everyone else has got it handled, right? I have visions of everyone else's house being these calm, serene images of all of the children dressed beautifully, lined up in age order, you know, and like the food's already done, and you're just sitting there reading a book, thinking to yourself, oh, soon it will be time for lift bench, and soon it will be time to light candles, you know. Never happens in my house, never happens in my family. I don't know about anyone else's, but not in mine. In mine, I'm like working right up until the button, you know. I get to the candles, I'm like, I'm sure I've forgotten something, it'll be fine, right? Now that I live in the frum community, it's like, I'm sure I've forgotten something, I'll borrow from my neighbor. So I want you to put yourself in the mindset, okay? Friday afternoon, early Shabbat coming in at 4:30. Your husband is not home yet, right? Because he works in a nice schmancy office downtown, and he's not leaving until he really until pretty much, you know, he'll leave time, but he can't just like swan out of work at 12, you know, like, he's got work to do. So he's on his way home. He calls you from the car. Hi, honey, I just realized that I forgot to put my dry cleaning in, right? You'll think to yourself, okay, great. And yeah, so there's a white shirt, and it's definitely clean, but it's like right at the bottom of the laundry hamper. Could you possibly iron it for me? Right now, my husband goes to North now, right? There used to be a time when we worked on campus where my husband could turn up in a purple shirt. You know, like the purple shirt from the back of the wardrobe that he like wears once in a blue moon. Now, at the shul that he goes to, my husband would never turn up in anything but a white shirt. That's the thing for the boys, right? It's just the thing. It's a thing. So just like I would never walk out of the house now, I would never walk out of the house now without my makeup on. I can't quite imagine. I feel sorry for my husband. I'm curious to know what would happen if my husband ever walked in a purple shirt. I think he excised the purple shirts from his wardrobe. But anyway, he wants a white shirt for Shabbos. That is what he wants. I have one of 3 responses. Okay? The first response is this. My house is actually a dead zone, so I could totally do this. Hello? Hello? No, I can't hear you. What was that? What was that? Something about dry cleaning? No, I don't know what happened to your dry cleaning. What? No, sorry, I can't hear you. Fine. Right? That's option number 1 when my husband calls on a Friday afternoon when the kids are destroying the house. Can you iron me a white shirt? I don't hear you. Right? Option number 2, way more likely. What do you mean you didn't put in your dry cleaning? What do you mean? Did you not know that you needed a white shirt? Did this just come out of the blue? Shock, you've been going to the shore for a while now and you just happen to not realize that you needed clothes? What are you, a man? Like, come on, right? That's option 2. Right? Usually even with more volume than that and even more animated. So much so that my husband is in the car like this. Right? Obviously never happened. Here's option 3. Option 3 is, this is really painful. Okay, honey. Okay. I'm going to go down to the basement where it's absolutely freezing cold for some reason. I'm going to find the ironing board that I haven't used because we always send the shirts out to be pressed at the laundry because ironing drives me up the wall, right? I'm going to drag the shirt up from the depths of the laundry basket, right? The depth. It's going to be the last one that I find also, right? And you're going to go through, you're going to half iron at least 3 shirts, thinking that that was the clean one, only to half iron one side to get to the other side and see the massive stain of ketchup on it going, that wasn't the clean one. Okay, right? You're going to pull it out, and ironically, on the tag, it's going to be so screwed up, it's going to look like, it's going to be like the size of a tennis ball, right? And as you unpeel it, right, it's going to have a little tag on it. I love this. My husband's shirts have this on it. They're from Marks and Spencer's in the UK. It says, non-iron. Non-iron. Yeah, right, non-iron. Yeah, right. I can have an elephant stamp on this, okay? And still the creases aren't going to come out. So I can turn around and I can say, you know what? I can ignore it, I can yell at it, or I can give to it. Those are my 3 options. Ignore it, I can yell at it, or I can give to it. I'm going to give to it. I'm going to make that investment in my marriage. When I first arrived in seminary, as I said, I was like not the easiest person to teach. I'm the girl who kind of walks in and, asks the Badafka hard questions in a very, very Badafka way. Like I can't ask a question of a rabbi in a respectful way. I don't know why. When I first started learning Judaism, I've got it now. Got it down now, thank God. But like when I first started learning Judaism, I was like, so you guys are crazy, you're completely nuts, and I'm just curious as to why you do this, okay? So when I first walked into seminary, one of the first things I saw was this idea that a woman is acquired in 3 ways. I'm like, I knew it was coming. Those H rabbis, those Kira rabbis, those Outreach rabbis, I knew they were hiding something from me. I knew this was a misogynistic, chauvinistic, patriarchal society which is here to oppress me. I knew it. I found it. I found the proof. So it happened to be that every single week, Rabbi Leff would teach in my seminary, and he'd teach a parsha. And so I took it to him. See what it says right here? Do you see this, Rabbi? He goes, yeah. What? What do you have to say for yourself, Rabbi? Right? So he said to me, there's 2 different ideas here. Firstly, there's I buy something. You're right. I buy something. I buy something is chattel. It's stuff. I buy an iPhone. I buy some food. I buy something. I buy something and then I possess it. I have it. That's the end of the relationship. It's mine. And then there's the concept of an investment. For example, we invest in real estate. Sometimes if it's an expensive enough car, not mine. We invest in a car. We invest in the holiday of a lifetime, right? We invest in these things. When you call something an investment, you look at it like it's an investment. It almost looks on the surface like the same thing, but it's very different. Because an investment suggests responsibility. No one's going to buy a house from you and then just let it crumble, right? Just don't do that. Apart from the fact that probably you would have your neighbours coming knocking on the door saying, why haven't you mowed the grass? Which was a whole new thing when I moved into suburban neighbourhoods. Someone came by, knocked on the door and said, you have to mow your grass. I'm like, really? Mow your lawn, right? I'm like, really? Okay. I'm sorry. Like, I've lived downtown and in like random student digs for like my entire married life. The concept of like mowing the lawn is like so suburban. Like, whoa, responsibilities. When you have an investment, you have responsibilities. When you have an investment, let's say a money investment, you manage it. Or you pay someone to manage it. Right? You pay someone to manage it. Like, you understand that there's something more going on there. That's a Jewish marriage. A Jewish marriage is an investment. What I'm looking for is I see a sense of responsibility in that. I'm giving so much more over. In terms of an investment, what's your return on investment? Going all the way back to the beginning, our return on investment in a Jewish marriage is Kedusha, is holiness, is special, is having a relationship, having a unique relationship that no one understands. We say in Judaism one of the ways in which we understand our purpose is to be B'Tselem Elokim, which means to be in the image of God. God's a giver. He's the ultimate giver. The ultimate giver. Everything, every tiny atom that exists is here because he gives it to us. Not he gave it to us, past tense. He gives it to us again and again and again at every second. It's a constant flow of energy. It's a little bit like, my rabbi described it a little bit like, it's not like you plug in your computer, you turn it on, and then you can pull the plug out and your computer runs, right? If you pull the plug out of the computer, right, you will lose all of your work, including that report that you have just spent 5 hours working on, right? Bad, right? The same thing in this world. We are constantly connected to the source. It's constantly a renewal of giving. Our marriages, a Jewish monogamous relationship based on these principles, is based on the idea of giving, which is being B'Tselem Elokim, it's being in the image of God. And there are so many different parallels that Judaism draws between a husband and a wife and the relationship of the Jewish people and God. It's absolutely our purpose, absolutely one of the ways in which we express our godliness in this world. That's why it's hardwired into this world. It's hardwired into this world because that's why we're here. We are here to be our husband's only wife. He is here to be our only husband. And what we read from that Kedusha is so powerful and beautiful. And that's what I have to say. I'm done.